The distress beacon had been faint, almost lost in the cosmic static that plagued the outer veil. Captain Jace Renner had nearly ignored it. His cargo hauler, the Meridian's Edge, was already 3 weeks behind schedule, and every minute spent investigating dead signals meant credits lost. But something about the pattern felt wrong, too deliberate, too precise to be random interference. When he found the escape pod drifting near the shattered remains of a Sarathian diplomatic cruiser, Jace realized he'd stumbled into something far beyond a simple salvage operation. The 3 occupants inside were barely conscious, their violet skin pale with oxygen deprivation. They wore torn ceremonial robes that shimmered even in the pod's failing emergency lights. Jace had seen enough wealthy passengers in his years hauling cargo to recognize nobility when he saw it. Human vessel, the eldest gasped as his med scanner passed over them, her golden eyes focusing with difficulty. You should not be here. Danger follows us. Yeah, well, I'm already here, Jace muttered, hooking the pod to his ship's airlock. And you're about 10 minutes from being here permanently if we don't move. Princess Lyra, as she introduced herself once aboard, proved to be the pragmatic one. Her younger sisters, Kane and Soli, clung to each other in the medical bay while Jace worked to stabilize their atmospheric requirements. Sarathians breathed a nitrogen-rich mixture that his life support systems weren't designed to handle, but he jury-rigged a solution using spare tanks from his emergency reserves. Our transport was attacked by the Kryloth Corsairs, Lyra explained, her voice steadier now. They knew our route. Someone betrayed the Imperial Court. Jace didn't need her to spell out what that meant. The Sarathian Empire controlled 10 star systems and commanded fleets that made Earth's entire navy look like a planetary defense force. Whoever had orchestrated this attack wanted to destabilize the greatest power in this sector, and he'd just made himself their obstacle. The first attack came 6 hours later. 3 Kryloth interceptors, dropped out of hyperspace with weapons hot. Jace's hauler had defensive shields meant for micrometeorites, not military-grade plasma cannons. He dove the Meridian's Edge toward a nearby asteroid field, his fingers dancing across controls that protested every emergency maneuver. They're corralling us, Lyra said from the co-pilot seat she'd claimed without asking, trying to force us into their kill zone. I noticed, Jace grunted, rolling the ship to avoid a volley that would have vaporized their cargo hold. Your people have any tricks I should know about? Secret weapons? Emergency teleporters? We're princesses, not soldiers. But her hands were already working his communications array, though I can broadcast on Imperial frequencies. Mother will come. Great, how long? 3 days. Perhaps 4. Jace laughed without humor. We've got maybe 3 hours before they get creative. He proved optimistic. The Kryloth got creative at the 2-hour mark. They sent boarding drones, small vicious things that latched onto the hull and began cutting through. Jace sealed the royal sisters in the reinforced cargo vault, grabbed the plasma rifle he'd sworn he'd never need again, and went to meet their attackers. The first drone breached in the aft corridor. Jace's rifle sang, its charge pack depleting rapidly as he held the choke point. These weren't sophisticated machines. The Kryloth preferred overwhelming numbers to tactical elegance. But there were a lot of them. When the second breach opened in the starboard maintenance shaft, Jace realized he couldn't hold both positions. He fell back toward the cargo vault, calling out coordinates to Lyra through his comm. Can you vent that section? The safety protocols override them. Vacuum claimed a dozen drones. The hull screech as they were sucked into space made Jace's teeth ache, but it bought precious minutes. The interceptors changed tactics then, moving in for the kill. Jace watched his shields collapse under sustained fire and made a decision that would haunt him if he survived. He vented the cargo hold. 200 tons of processed titanium, rare earth minerals and manufactured goods, 6 months of his earnings, exploded into the void. The debris cloud scattered like shrapnel, peppering the attacking ships. One interceptor took a cargo container to its drive assembly and spiraled away trailing plasma. The others broke off to avoid the same fate. In the sudden silence, Princess Kane's voice came through the vault's intercom. You just destroyed your livelihood for us? Yeah, well. Jace leaned against the bulkhead, exhausted. Dead men don't spend credits anyway. They played cat and mouse for 3 more days. Jace used every trick he'd learned in his years on the frontier. Radiation zones that masked their signature, gravity wells that stressed pursuing ships, even a desperate dive through a comet's tail that left his hull coated in ice but threw off their thermal tracking. The royal sisters proved more resilient than he'd expected. Solely the youngest learned to monitor the sensor arrays. Kane helped manage power distribution during their evasive maneuvers. And Lyra sat beside him in the cockpit during the long watches, her presence somehow making the impossible seem merely difficult. "Why did you stop?" she asked during one quiet moment. "For the beacon." Most humans would have ignored it. Jace considered the question. "Guess I'm not most humans." "No," she agreed softly. "You are not." When the Sarathian Imperial fleet finally arrived, it came like a hammer from heaven. 14 warships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation, their weapons arrays lit with enough firepower to sterilize a planet. The remaining Kryloth interceptors scattered like leaves before a storm. The flagship, Empress's Will, dwarfed every other vessel in the system. When its docking request came through, Jace found his hands shaking as he granted permission. Empress Vaelra did not board alone. A full honor guard accompanied her, warriors in ceremonial armor that still managed to look lethal, but she bypassed them all to embrace her daughters, her composure cracking for just a moment as she held them. Then those golden eyes, older and harder than Lyra's, but unmistakably similar, fixed on Jace, Captain Renner. Her voice carried absolute authority. "You have protected what I hold most precious. The Sarathian Empire does not forget such debts." Jace shifted uncomfortably. "Just did what anyone would do, Your Majesty." "No." Empress Vaelra moved closer, and despite himself, Jace felt the urge to step back. Most would have taken the ransom the Kryloth offered, or simply left them to die, but you sacrificed everything to keep them safe. She gestured, and an aide approached with a data tablet. "Your cargo has been valued at 200,000 credits. I am transferring 10 million to your account. Additionally, you are hereby granted letters of marque as a friend of the Empire. Our shipyards, our trade routes, our resources, all open to you." Jace's mind reeled at the numbers. That's too much. It is not nearly enough. The Empress's expression softened almost imperceptibly. "My intelligence services are investigating the betrayal that led to this attack. When we uncover the conspirators, they will face imperial justice. But you, Captain, you have earned something that credits cannot buy." She placed a hand on his shoulder, the gesture carrying weight beyond its physical touch. "You have earned the gratitude of a mother." Behind her, Princess Lyra smiled. And for the first time in 3 harrowing days, Jace Renner allowed himself to believe he might actually survive this after all.